Hi everybody and welcome to my fly tying tutorial. The pattern today that I'm going to be tying is going to be called a CrawBody Crayfish. This is a really fun pattern to tie. I may be making it a little more difficult than you have to, so this is going to be one pattern that I would recommend for intermediate tiers. Crayfish are just great. They're such a great lure pattern whenever we're talking about trout and smallmouth. I remember using them so often when I was younger, especially using the live ones. Now that I really enjoy fishing flies that I tie myself, it's really tricky to find an accurate representation of this. And I believe with this new product out by Flymen, they've done something that's helped us out tremendously. Well, let me get tying this pattern. I'll tell you a little bit about it along the way. First of all, I'm tying on an Allen fly fishing hook. This is their S402 or the 402 BL, which this is the BL for barbless. This is going to be a size 6 that I'm tying on. I recommend starting this pattern somewhere around a size 4, tying it down to around a size 10. I like that 2 extra long hook. I'm next just going to add some .020 heavy wire. You want to make somewhere around 15 wraps. This will really add up quickly. This is going to bring a lot of weight into the pattern. In fact, I don't use 020 that often. I don't even have this on a spool right now because I don't use it that often. But once you have it on there, twist it, and you're going to leave it a little bit more towards the front of the hook. This pattern is actually going to be fished upside down, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. But for now, we're just going to tie that in, leave that closer to the front. We can tie in our thread, which I'm just going to use some 8/0 brown. Let me get my thread in there. And just as an FYI, I'm going to be flattening this body, but I'm going to do that at a later stage. If you attempt to flatten lead this early, sometimes the ends can just chip and they can break off as you're simply even locking it in. So for now, just get some thread wraps over it. Don't worry too much about it because we're going to be flattening it. Then I'm going to go straight to the back of the hook, and I'm going to be tying in the eyes. For the eyes, whenever I look at a crayfish, I notice just those little beady eyes staring back. I don't want to do anything crazy because they are so small, so I just have some, this is from a bead chain, it's just a set of black eyes. So I'm simply going to place those in. I put about 10 or 12 locking wraps. I'm just going to figure 8 back and forth a number of times. Put a couple wraps underneath, a couple wraps on both sides, just figure 8 a couple more times, and that's it. If there's movement, that's okay. They're going to be locked in by something else eventually, so we don't have to worry so much about those moving off. Next, it's going to be these antenna or these feelers. I just have some rubber legs. I think this is an olive or a brown color. There's some speckling in it. Do I think that speckling's important? No, but it's nice to give it a little extra flash, especially in case the water's a little off color the day I'm fishing. Just got to trim these. For the length, I want them sticking out, but you don't have to worry about like tripling the body or trying to find the exact measurement. I'm simply going to just measure these against the length of the hook shank and make them approximately that length. So about right there, just extend it out to that length. If you could tie them in on the sides of the eyes, that's fine. If you want to tie them under the eyes, it's truly up to you. I'm just going to lock them in on top. Then I'm going to take each and I'm going to spin it underneath the eyes and put a few more locking wraps. I'm going to just kind of forget about that for a second. Go back. I'm going to hold these back because I actually want to keep these. I don't want to necessarily trim them until they get back to this little gap, this little soft spot, because they will help out with the profile that I'm trying to create with this crayfish. So I'm just going to keep them in there. Don't worry about making it look pretty. That is not really important for this fly. Okay. I don't want them coming together yet, so I'm going to try to make sure they're separate or separated. But be careful because it's really tricky. These rubber legs will just shoot all over the place, as you know if you tie with them on a regular basis. All right, next we're gonna tie in the body. Now there's definitely tons of different alternatives. You can use chenille, just a regular brown chenille. If you want to use an orange chenille, you can use some marabou if you'd like. It's really up to you. For me, I'm going to be tying it with some squirrel SLF spiky dubbing. This is size. Let me zoom this out. This is the color of dark brown. I really like this dark color because that's going to go opposite of my body, this craw body. It's a little bit of a lighter color. So I'm just going to be grabbing this in hunks. Don't be afraid to really just put a lot of this on. You might end up at your fly shop a lot buying this pattern, buying this material, and your buddies down there are going to be wondering what's going on. Just tell them you're restocking your nymph boxes or something. But don't be afraid to really get a huge noodle or whatever you want to call it. Just pile this dubbing on because you're going to be picking it out with some Velcro. You can see that's very thick, very generous there. The first thing I'm going to do is go back and wrap it around these antenna. Just get those separated. I'm going to get one more wrap up there, because that's going to be the head of this crayfish. And start wrapping back. If you go over it itself, that's okay. If it starts to peel out, don't worry about it. Just pull some out, put it back on. Whenever you hit that lead wire, you're going to stop and do a little measurement. I'm going to tell you about this body here in a second, but for now I just want to do a quick measurement. Whenever I set this crayfish body on top, this CrawBody, I want this little tail piece, so it's just over the hook eye. So going forward, they have all these little indentations in there for me. Whenever I'm tying back and I get to where the first indentation is, that's where I'm going to put in some copper wire. But I'm not there yet, so I'm going to just hunk some more of this dubbing on. Go back a little bit further. And that's going to be about the position of where I'm going to be placing in my copper wire. So I'm just going to do a quick measurement. Yeah, that's definitely going to be the placement. Let me tie in a little piece of copper wire. This is going to be used to hold down the back of the CrawBody. For the copper wire, again, I'm going to extend that the whole way to that soft gap between my lead wire and the eye of the hook. And then I'm just going to stop for a moment. So let me zoom out. I'm going to tell you briefly about these CrawBodies. This is the package they come in. They are called CrawBodies. This is color brown. This is a medium size. They recommend this for size hooks 4 and 2. I'm using it on a size 6, 2 extra long shank hook, and it seems to work fine. So what these are, they are synthetic bodies. It's a synthetic suede body that just looks great in the water. They look very leathery in the water. These are put out by a company called the Flyman Fishing Company. They're found at flymanfishing.org. I really recommend this product because it creates an awesome profile. Everything's done for you. You don't have to worry about cutting anything out. Once you have this thing on, if you really want to add some more marabou to extend the legs, or the catchers, or I forget what they're called right now, or if you want to add some extra marabou coming out for the body to create more of that swimmerette profile, or to create the walking legs, you can. Or if you want to make a little bit of a wider tail, those are all awesome variations. I'm going to tie this one just a little basic, just to give you the gist of what's going on. So at this point, I'm going to stop what I'm doing, and I'm going to place this on the hook. Here's what I'm going to do. Imagine going back to when I was a kid. Whenever I would catch a live crayfish, I would typically place the hook through this head section or through this back of the body section. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to place the hook right around this section, right in the middle of the head. Not necessarily up in the middle, but right in the middle between left and right if you're looking at it horizontally, and up maybe a millimeter, right around there. I'll leave this zoomed out for a second so you can see what I have going on. So I'm just going to line it up, make sure it's approximately in the center, and just push it on. Once I have that pushed on, I just want to verify that I have it centered. If you're off by just a hair, don't worry about it. Reposition, get it where you want it. Take your hook off, or out of the vise, pull it up, and put your hook back in the vise. Okay? Let me zoom back in now. Once I have it in there, I'm going to rotate this eventually towards the eye. Now before we do that, I'm going to finish wrapping my dubbing, but I just want to have it on there so I know where that point is. I kind of like having it on there so I know whenever I get everything finished and I start bringing my wire, I have it, I have it really in that right position where that first swimmerette is. Okay, now though, I have everything really in a great position to kind of finish tying this. Let me go back to my dubbing, this squirrel spiky dubbing. Again, you're going to just go through gobs of this stuff. Get this on there. This is the most time-consuming part of the fly. So if you would prefer to use chenille, you can, but then you're going to lose the next step that I have. Okay, I'm just going to need a little bit more. Just about finished with this part, thankfully. Okay, once I have that finished, I'm right by the hook eye. I'm just going to pull it back just a hair, and lock it in. Okay, I have two steps, two things I'm going to do to the body. First, I'm going to grab a pair of flat pliers. I'm just going to go in and squeeze once and go up a little bit and squeeze again. I've just widened the body a little bit because we have that lead wire tied underneath. That's one of the other reasons why I use 020 is it's a little bit of a thicker diameter, which allows me to create just that wider body. And then finally, the most critical piece of this, in my opinion, is just a little piece of Velcro. I'm going to hold on to the thin copper wire and just start pulling all of that dubbing out. So whenever I said don't be afraid to let that dubbing go on loose, this is why. You really want to pull it out because this is going to help show off the swimmerets and the walking legs of the crayfish, because those are two very distinct characteristics. That's why I've chosen to go with dubbing and not chenille, because you can't really do this with chenille. Now with chenille you can add on some other rubber legs, you can put some marabou on, you can add other fibers and other feathers in, but I really think by using Velcro to pick a lot of this stuff out, it really takes on the appearance of the natural crayfish. Okay, I'm going to invert my vise now. I'm going to pull this crayfish body down against those eyes. So you can see probably from the video, those eyes are just sneaking out there. And in fact, I'm going to be honest, I'd like to get this head just a little bit in a different position. And this is a perfect time to do that. So I'm just going to pull it out and poke it in one other spot. I just did not like the way that was sitting there. I needed it back just a little bit. Okay, let me go back to the inversion. All right, now that's sitting a lot better. I want it so whenever I'm tying the tail in first, because that's the first piece, as I pull this synthetic material tight, I want to be able to go straight across, make one wrap and be right at the fringe of this. So you may need to kind of push this head piece down. I'm going to grip it with my fingers here. Just make one wrap, make sure I have room in my eye, and a few more wraps, and stop. And I flip that up and put my thread back behind it. Then I'm going to come back to my lead wire. I'm going to make approximately 4 wraps. But when I make these wraps, I want to make them relatively loose. I don't want to bind this together so much. The profile of the crayfish shows that it is a lot more slender in this section. But that doesn't mean you want to just pull it tight and get it really bound together. I'm going to make about 4 turns. Bring this back by my thread. Get it locked in place. Get that trimmed out of there. If you have this tied in correctly, you should have a very clean looking eye. I just put a quick half hitch. Now I'm going to whip finish it. If you want to place a little head cement there, you are more than welcome to. With all that copper wire, I really don't sweat it. Okay, then I flop this back down. Now, can you go out and fish it just the way it is right now? Absolutely. It will be fine. The first and probably only modification I would worry about would be just making sure, again, you have these swimmerets they're showing from this section. So there we go. I picked it out again. It's really easy to see those swimmerets. The walking legs are found right in this section, so you want to, again, just grab your Velcro, just pull that stuff out, showing off those walking legs, and again, the swimmerets are right here. However, I'm going to make a couple more modifications. First, I'm going to grab a Sharpie, and I may just go to the tips of the actual claws themselves. I'm just going to just touch it a little bit on each side, just to darken it just a hair, just to show the fish that, hey, I'm using these things. Does it matter? Probably not. Is the material going to go dark anyway when it hits the water? Absolutely. But I just like to darken them a little bit. All right, once I have those darkened, then I put on the last step. I'm going to grab a little bit of, this is called original super glue. This is glass glue. This is a UV curing glue. I'm just going to pull it. I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to apply 2 coats. And there's my first one. You'll see this stuff will absorb in quickly. So there's a first nice gob coat. Grab my UV flashlight, start to cure it. Looks like there's one little hair that's popping up there. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Okay, you can wait about 15 seconds with these. If if you've seen me tying at all, I am very cautious when it comes to this stuff. I always wait about 30 seconds. For the sake of the YouTube video, I'll stop this one just a few seconds short. And then I'm going to examine it, and I'm going to place normally one more coat. I can see that little thing popping up there. If I push it down with my finger, maybe trim it away a little bit before I put on my next coat, it should be hidden nicely. So I put on a second coat, and this is again just to give this crayfish that crustacean look. Okay. While this is curing, let me be honest with you. Do I think this matters? No. And here's the reason why. Once you put all this UV glue on it and you drop this fly into the water, first of all, it sinks right to the bottom. This is a heavy pattern. But that section that we just put all this glue on, you really can't see that you put all that glue on it. This synthetic CrawBody, this synthetic suede CrawBody just goes extremely dark, and you can barely even tell that you have this section on there. But I will tell you that if you're looking at it from a fly time perspective, man, it sure does look pretty on this fly. Okay, so let me get all this here. Get that little extra piece out of there. Let me get my flashlight turned off. Let me pop this out, and I'll put this in a little hook, a little gripper, so you guys can see it. So this is the finished crayfish CrawBody. I'll give you kind of a 360 each angle on it. Just an awesome pattern, fun pattern. It's definitely a little bit time consuming, and it would be more of an intermediate pattern. But I do want to assure you these are great patterns to use. I would recommend fishing these on 3X or 4X fluorocarbon. You don't want to put this on anything around a 5X because you don't want to lose it. A, because of the time that you put into it, but second of all, this fly is going to be bouncing on the bottom, and it's really going to have a chance to put you in a position to catch a larger fish. Again, thanks go out to a couple companies. Allen Fly Fishing, this is the S402 or the 402BL hook. Just an awesome hook. You can check them out at allenflyfishing.com. And thanks also to the Flyman Fishing Company for these CrawBodies they have available to us fly tires. It's a great product. All right, and thank you to all of my my YouTube viewers. I do appreciate all comments and questions, and you're more than welcome to leave them directly on this YouTube page. Thanks again for viewing the video of me tying this CrawBody crayfish.